Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Tommy Gilmore with Noisy Bird Digital Marketing, and you are watching another episode of Wingin It. If this is your first time here, every week I'm talking with a different business owner, and the end goal is that by the end, you're learning how to wing it just a little less in your business. I'm really excited. We're chatting with Dustin Parkinson. He's with Mountain West Waterworks. Dustin, thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm really excited. You come from kind of you have a foot in each realm right now. You know, not only do you run a waterworks company, but you're also the Madison County Commissioner up in Idaho, which is cool. So we might talk a little bit about some public work stuff, but really we're going to be focused still on business, growing a business. And today we're going to be focusing on building a culture in your employees. So Dustin, thanks a ton for joining me today, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, so let's just jump right in, Dustin. I know that, you started Mountain West Waterworks. It's 2011. We're just coming out of, the Great Recession, as people call it. By 2013, you're on your own, doing it full time, all that stuff. And now you've got a business that's got 14 employees. Tell people a little bit about Mountain West Waterworks, who you are, what you do, what services you offer, and why you feel like it's important.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Mountain West Waterworks, I struggle with this all the time. People will come up to me and say, what is it exactly that you do? And I even have family members, that have seen me do this whole process and be where I am and start this from where I did. And, 15 years later, they're still saying, what exactly is it you do? So I kind of struggle with that elevator pitch, I guess, but the best way to put it is we're a public utility management company. And so we work with municipalities, government agencies, HOAs that have public water systems, so drinking water systems, and then wastewater facilities. So we provide those licenses. If you're a public utility, you have to have a license with the state you're in to manage those facilities. And so we provide those for those entities. Kind of it is a scaled approach. Rather than these entities all having their own licensed folks, we can cover multiple entities with our team. And so we ensure that people have safe drinking water, and that all the regulatory compliance stuff is met. And then we ensure that the oversight of the wastewater facilities, making sure that all the compliance is met there, and that they're protecting the environment when they're dealing with the wastewater.
So to put it in crude terms, if I turn on my sink and I don't want poo water, what you do is important.
It is, exactly. Yep, exactly.
Good to know.
That's boiling it down, I guess, if you want to put it. Yeah.
There's your 5-second elevator pitch.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's so true. That's great. Love it.
Well, I'm excited
on my website.
Yeah, you got a new tagline, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to chat about that. Obviously, in the Mountain West right now, we're in a drought. We had probably the driest winter on record, at least in Utah. I believe Idaho is very much in the same boat. So tell people a little bit about what do you guys do specifically, in times of challenge like that? How are you helping, keep good water for people, and does your job shift at all when we're in a drought?
Yeah, it does. It is affecting things. We have part of our organization, one of the contracts we have is working with the state of Idaho with their recharge. So in Idaho, there's mitigation is what they call it. So if you use groundwater, if you use well water, you have rights to that groundwater, but they're only to certain priority dates. And what happens in Idaho through some litigation and different things, groundwater users have to take surface water, so from canals and ditches and things like that, and they actually have to put it back in the ground and do an exchange. And so what we do as our company is we work with the state of Idaho to do all the sampling and make sure that groundwater or the surface water as it goes and sinks in the ground is safe, that we don't, not putting pesticides and metals and stuff back into the aquifer. So that's one of our contracts, and that this year has been cut back a lot because there's just no spare surface water to sink in the ground. So that's an example of how things are changing for us. Legislation in Idaho is really changing on groundwater rights and who has priority, and kind of that back and forth between surface water and groundwater. And then we manage a couple water systems that actually use springs. So water comes right out of the mountain, right into a tank, and then it's pumped up, put right into a tank, and then distributed to the users. And we have a water system right now that was producing, right around 200 gallons a minute out of the spring. We're down to about 45 gallons a minute with this drought, and it's been in service since the 70s. And on record, this is probably the lowest producing year for that spring. And so they're looking at drilling a well or doing things differently or putting some automation in. So it is affecting a lot of what we do.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, obviously with the drought and things like that, there's some big needs and changes and things like that. Tell people, like, why is what you do so important? Why did you choose 15 years ago to say, I want to help people keep good drinking water? Where did that idea come from? And then, like, maybe if somebody listens and is interested, how could they also get into the same line of work?
Yeah, so this all started kind of by luck, I guess. As you mentioned earlier, the Great Recession was on. I actually started my career farming with my family, and as the farm stories usually go, that didn't really have enough room on the farm for everybody, and so I chose to exit and did the best thing that farm kids do, and is go run construction equipment. So I went out in the dirt world and built roads, bridges, water, wastewater systems. And then the Great Recession came, and like everybody else, I was looking for a job by the end of 2008. So I happened to just apply for a position at the local town here, and they hired me to work in the water department. And so I'd never heard of this job. I'd never heard of this career path. I didn't even know what it was. So I kind of just jumped in because it was a safe, secure place. And as I got into it, I realized that, hey, I have a natural aptitude to understand this. And as I got further into it, I realized that, it's important to make sure that people have safe drinking water. There's few things that we really do to protect public health. Water is essential to life. I mean, during 2008 was really 2009, 2010 was really tough. A lot of people couldn't pay their water bills. And so it was my job as an operator at that time to go shut those off. And there would be folks that would come out, and their families would be standing on the porch as you shut their water off, and they were begging you to turn it back on. And it was really tough to see that. And you don't realize how important your water is until somebody's turning it off, and you can't do anything. Your property is not worth anything, and life is unsustainable. And so at that point, I decided that was very important to me to make sure that people could have clean drinking water and could manage their lives in a way that would be, healthy. And I started looking around. I was going to these trainings that you have to go to keep your licensure or gain your licensure. And I was the youngest person in those trainings. I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And you go to a training full of 50, 60 people, and everybody was in their 50s. And so I started looking around going, wow, why am I the youngest person in here? And what's going to happen to all these jobs when there's nobody following behind? So I want to continue that work that is so important, is why I got into it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if my math is right, this is back in, 8, 9, 10, 11, kind of those starting phases. So 15 years ago, I'd imagine now a lot of those people are retired. And so, tell people about the landscape of what you do now. Are you seeing these businesses just shut their doors? Are younger people coming into them at all? Where does that stand?
Yeah, so we're seeing municipalities are struggling. We're getting calls weekly. We seem to be in the right place at the right time. Weekly we're getting calls from different organizations. We've got a local municipality here that called and said, look, we don't have any staff to run a wastewater, part of our wastewater department. And because we just can't find anybody to do the work. We can't find anybody that is in our city budget to do this work, and all their staff has either quit or retired. And so they're in a really tough place, and they're calling us saying, how can you help us? Can you provide these licenses and this expertise in this stuff? And it's every municipality is feeling that pinch right now. And we just seem to be in the right place at the right time for that. So
that's awesome. So time of growth for you and your business, which is exciting, but maybe a little bit scary for other people, people that like having clean water to drink.
Yeah, these small municipalities, medium-sized towns up to 25,000 people, some of these maybe more mountain resort towns, it's become so expensive to live in some of those towns, right? I mean, you can't buy a home for less than $600,000, but these cities can't pay these folks to do this job, $200,000. They just can't do that in their budget, right? And the state requires that you have 2 licensed people, so they're redundant. And so, that costs a lot of money to basically have that redundancy and have an employee that just does this role. And where we found our niche is we can provide those licenses and that redundant license. They can still hire their, folks to do the day-to-day stuff and make sure the facilities are running and everything. And we partner with these municipalities providing these licenses, and then we come by and work with their folks to make sure things are just in compliance. So we found a really good niche to be able to have municipalities keep stuff in line with their budgets, especially some of these more resort communities that it's just so expensive to have those folks on site and live right there. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I love that you guys are serving a need, and it sounds like ultimately in a way that's win-win.
Yeah.
I think that's really where business rubber can meet the road, is when it is a win-win. You create a winning situation for the client because they're saving money. They can't afford to have a second person, and you can provide that second person. So they only need to focus on, hey, we got to hire one, pay them well enough to retain them. And then we have this contract company that kind of holds the second contract. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. And so we provide a broad range. We can provide both. We have some communities where we provide all the licensure. We have some communities where we do provide just that second one. We have some communities where we come by, once a month or twice a week. And then we have some that turn the whole thing over to us. And so we manage the budgets. We manage, call outs in the middle of the night, 24/7. And then we just update them as we spend money or we use those funds. They basically just give us kind of autonomy to manage the whole thing. So we kind of do a whole scope, but yeah, anywhere we can save money and be efficient for these communities is what we're after.
That's awesome. It's cool that you found that ability to, especially for something as critical as water, to be able to provide, like you said. I don't think we appreciate it. It's kind of like, oh, you don't appreciate having a hot shower till you have a cold shower. It's the same kind of thing.
Or even a shower. It's a big difference. So
yeah. Well, I think what you're doing is awesome. It's obviously very important. I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit. I see up on your wall there, you have The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt. It's one of my favorite. I don't know if it's a prose or poem or whatever you want to call it, but the short of it is that until you're the person that is making the decisions, like people will mock you, people laugh at you, whatever, but you're the man in the arena. Like you get to make those decisions. So you've got a successful business. You've been running it for 15 years. It's growing. You've found a need. You found a niche. But that doesn't come easily, right? Like you've been the man in the arena. So what's been the biggest challenge that you faced, and strategically, how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, there's a reason that this hangs in my office. When we started this as one little water system when I was still working for the municipality I was working for, and the guys that I was working with said, you'll never make that work. There's just no way that that's gonna do anything, and I didn't really know where it was going, but as I started to do one system, it turned into two, turned into four, and then pretty soon I was working 2 full-time jobs. And I've had several people come to me now that I'm where I'm at and say, man, we never thought you were going to make anything of this, but here you are, and there's so many times that we wanted to give up. So many times. I mean, so many times where it was like, you'd work a 20-hour day and then you come home and do the books and balance it, and you didn't make any money. I mean, and it was just, you just wanted to quit. And so many times I wanted to just give up. And, working with my wife, we just kind of had this mentality that we wanted a better life and we needed to burn the boats. That we've crossed this island and we're not going back. This is a way of life. We believe in what we're doing, that there's no other options. And so once we kind of had that mind shift of, look, I don't have a return boat back. I've got to make this work. Like, we don't have any other choice. That's when things kind of switched. We kind of had that mentality of like, we're just going to figure this out. And you can't complain. You can't do anything. You dig in and you get it done. And so, we did a lot of different things to get started. The waterworks thing was kind of slow to get going the way we structured it. So we actually had a landscape arm of this where we did irrigation sprinkler repair for about 4 years of this to pay the bills. And we had a snow removal business to help pay the bills. But we slowly always had this in the background building and growing, knowing this was the goal. So that was, if I could, encourage anybody or speak to anybody about that, is have your main goal, but don't be afraid to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And that may be, you have to do things you don't really want to do or you don't really like to do, but have a goal and work towards it, and it can happen. It just takes some time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the one thing that I've learned, and I think I've shared this quote on the podcast. Alex Hormozy, he talks a lot about business growth, and one of the things that he said is you probably overestimate the amount that you can do in a year and underestimate the amount you can do in 5.
Oh yeah.
And I think so many times we as business owners were like, oh, we're going to grow 300% this year, and then you hit this goal where maybe you grow 50 or 60%, and you're like, oh man, I didn't grow as much as I wanted to. But you look at other businesses that are growing 5, 10% or 15%, or not growing. They have a backwards year, and you come to realize, oh, like, business is not a linear experience.
Definitely not.
So I resonate with what you're saying, because I think that everybody in business gets that sort of lack of patience, I think is a good way to put it. That, we're all hungry. We're all kind of chomping at the bit. That's why we started our businesses. And at the end of the day, the question is, all right, so how do we, do we have the willpower to not get there in a year, but get there in 4 or 5, or, blow that goal out of the water over 5 years.
Yeah. One of the things that my grandpa always told me was that stuck with me is the saying of under promise, over deliver. And we try to do that. And sometimes in business, what I've found is if you can live by that, it's slower. We're not after the quick dollar. We're not after the quick win, but over a period of 4 and 5 years, you actually have, I feel like, a more bulletproof sort of organization, that if you're always under promising and over delivering in everything you do. And we really we work hard to do that here. And it's worked really well. We haven't grown, some years as fast as we wanted to. And the past couple of years, it's growing faster than we want. So it's just, kind of, mixing and matching that and understanding what season you're in, I guess. So,
yeah. Well, you just said something interesting, Dustin. I want to pause and expand on it a little bit. You said you're growing faster than you want. And I know that, at the top, we introduced that you have 14 employees. You guys are getting these calls from municipalities that are needing the services you offer. And, the reason, I think the underlying reason, if I'm reading into your business correctly, that you are wanting to maybe not growing that fast, is because you want good employees. You want people that are, they buy into your values, they buy into your business. You're not just looking for a body that can do a thing. You're looking for somebody that wants a career with you, so that, you can build that culture and things like that. So what are you doing right now to kind of build that culture with the growth? And what are you doing to emphasize that as you grow and add employees into your team?
Yeah, thank you. That's a big part of this. I tell my leadership team when we meet often, is the number one thing, at least in our organization, that we have to market is our people. We really don't market a widget, or we really don't market a service. We market our folks, our teammates. That's our advertisement, is that we have these skilled, talented, battle-tested folks that can come solve your problems and keep you out of hot water with the government. I mean, and so we, our mission here, and our mission that we have, is that we build people first, infrastructure second, to serve our clients and protect the environment. And when we talk about infrastructures, we talk about, trainings, we talk about all the things to help our people first. And we have to remind ourselves quite often that that's the reason we're really here, is our people, is our teammates, because without them, none of this works.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I love the emphasis on, we build employees first. We're people oriented, people focused, and then we build the infrastructure second, because obviously that's the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
But for you guys, like, how do you live that? What does that look like within your organization of building your employees and putting your people first?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We do things a little different here than most organizations. We try really hard. One of the things I really struggled with when I worked for a municipality was that there was no individualism there. So say somebody come in and was always clocking in late or having a problem, the boss would come in and then set a standard for everybody, right? And it would be across the board in anything like that. So if there was an employee issue with one person, they would punish everybody else. Or if they're even down to health insurance, they'd say, this is the standard and everybody has to pay the same. And I don't subscribe to that. We are very individual based kind connection with each of our employees. And so even down to our healthcare, we do our benefits. We do everything we can to allow our team to choose their own healthcare that works for them, and then we reimburse them. We figured out a way to do that. Each of their, agreements that they have with, employee agreements, we really like to work with them to fit their needs, and we are very much performance based here. So, as long as your work's getting done and your information is filled out and you're where you're going to need to be, we're pretty hands off. We don't micromanage folks here. We let them do their job, and we let them do it well, and we support them to get the education and the experience and the tools to do it. And as leaders, we get out of their way. And that's been really successful for us. We've had some bumps and bruises, but I think if people know that you support them and you trust them, they will go to the end of the earth to work with you. Yeah. And it's been a really good experience so far.
That's awesome. Well, and I know one thing that you said that really got me thinking is the idea of like properly training people, properly supporting people, and then getting out of their way. Me and my business partner, we always joke, we just want to be the dumbest people in the room. We want to sharpen the tools around us so much that we as the business people, they're like, wait, these idiots are the ones that are making the decisions. And, we kind of joke about it, but really we try to be more hands off and get out of the way of the people that, hey, like we do marketing. So you love social media. Great. Like, learn everything you can about social media. Let us know how we can support you. Here's the tools we have. Let us know what else you need. And then how can we help? We're going to help strategize. We're going to help support you. We're going to, ask you questions, but that's what we're here to do. We're not here to make posts for you or whatever. That is your job, and we're going to let you get as good at your job and even better than what we wanted initially.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that the idea of just letting people thrive and grow. My grandpa was a really successful businessman, had lots of different things that he did. And one of the things he taught me is one of his sayings. I'm probably going to refer to him a lot through this, but his was, don't ever be afraid to hire somebody smarter than you.
Mm-hmm. Same kind of idea.
Yeah, it's that same thing. And so, people have talents, people have abilities, and so let them do what they do best. And I need to get some of those things that I'm not very good at off my plate and do what I do best. And that way we all thrive. If I'm not very good at managing the office, why as a leader would I be in telling everybody what to do in the office? What if I'm good at is marketing, or what I'm good at is making connections or strategizing, that's what I need to go do and hone in on that so that everybody's, getting the 100% of what I'm good at all the time.
Yeah.
That's how we try to do things.
Yeah. I definitely resonate with that. I think that the more that you plug not only the people around you, but yourself into those roles that you naturally are the best at, I think that's really where your business starts to thrive. So I'm glad you brought that up. So, we talked about hiring good people, and we talked about culture. Let's combine them. When you're looking to hire somebody new, what do you do to try to make sure that they're a good fit for your culture? Do you have questions? Do you, do like a test run? What does that look like for your organization?
That's been something we've been refining this whole time here. We feel like we've done a pretty good job in the time that we've had this organization. We've only had three people in a turnover, I think it is. We're still really communicative and involved in two of those folks. One of them has moved away. So we really don't have any turnover here, and people seem to find their way here. But one of the things that we've honed in on lately is that humble, hungry, and smart. If they possess those three characteristics, those are the most important things to us. You can have the highest licensure in the whole place, and you can have all these things hanging on the wall. But I will take a guy right out of high school or a woman right out of high school and hire them if they have those core characteristics before I hire the guy with the highest licensure on the wall. Because I know, as we built this, I know those folks are gonna, in this environment that we built, are gonna thrive, and we can teach them, we can train them, we can know they'll grow, and they know they want more, right? And so those are the main things we look for is we get to know them. We have several interviews. We ask them pointed questions in the humble, hungry, smart categories. And then everybody that's been hired here, we turn them loose with our team for a day. So it's a prerequisite that you come here, you go to work with our team and the role you're going to be working with. So if you're going to go be an operator, you go hang out with the operators for a day and see exactly what they do every day. And, then we come back and we talk about it. And if there's any kind of sense that they're not humble and they're not hungry and they're not smart, we don't continue. And that's actually been a pretty successful thing. It's funny. We hired a young kid just coming out of automation school. So he's just finishing up that, and he sat down in our chair. In about 10 minutes of talking to him, me and my wife looked at each other and was like, yep, this is the one. Like you just kind of know, if you boil it down kind of to that lens, it's really pretty simple. For us, it's been that way anyways, right? But we obviously always follow the process of sending him out with the team, and they have that same lens too. They're looking for those same qualifications. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love you said humble, hungry, and smart. I think that's that Venn diagram's really good, because if you have somebody that's too smart or maybe not humble enough, but is hungry, they're going to be arrogant. And then you're working with an arrogant person and you're like, oh, this wasn't fun.
and I think where that Venn diagram comes together, as I see it, they're not teachable.
Yep.
And I'm still learning stuff. Nobody knows everything, right? And so we've got to, as leaders, we have to be humble, hungry, smart too. And I have to remind myself all the time is I still have to be hungry. I still have to be humble, and I have to still be smart in how I do things, or I can't surround myself with people with that same, matrix.
Yeah. Well, Dustin, I wanted to pivot. I've got two more questions for you. This has been super awesome. Really appreciate your time. Love talking about building a culture with you. For Mountain West, where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years? Do you have like a growth plan? Do you, if you have a genie in the bottle, it does everything you ask it to do, what does Mountain West Waterworks look like in 5 years?
I think we just are still on the same path that we're on. I think we just getting stronger, dialing in our processes, serving our clients more. One of the things that we're working on really hard is how we can do more with less, so that we don't have to raise our fees. Everybody in the world today is feeling the inflation crunch, and water and wastewater facilities are no different. Every time I turn around, parts are double. Experience we had was we had a particular part on a water system that was put in 2008, and it failed. And we called the engineer and said, hey, you know what? This part was inside of a water tank. It stirs the water. And we said, hey, do you have the information on when you built this, engineered? He says, oh yeah, I got the information. I have the number for it, the serial number, make, model, and what I paid for it. And we're like, oh, great. So we got that information and we took it to him, or we called the manufacturer, and for the same exact part and the same exact everything, it was 2.5 times what it was in 2008 for that part. And so you extrapolate that over a system that's worth $100 million in parts, like, it's crazy. And so we're just trying to really work how we can be super lean, super efficient. And so I really think us just really dialing in on our systems and processes over the next 5 years, and keeping our clients happy, growing, obviously. But I would like to, we've spun off a couple side businesses from this that are sister companies. I'd like to see those grow as well, to support, again, back to that infrastructure part of our mission. I'd like to see that all kind of grow as a holistic view of serving our clients, not just through Mountain West Waterworks, but through some of these other entities too.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear how you guys grow. I think it looks like you've got a good team. You guys seem capable. And I'm just really, I'm rooting for you guys. I love your story and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a wild ride so far.
Well, and here's to another 15 years of wild rides and growth.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the last question I like to ask people here, Dustin, is just about the best piece of business advice that you've ever been given. And like we talked about, I want to hear the advice, but I'd also love to hear how you've put it in place, what it's done for your business as you've done it, things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has really helped us be where we are is we have probably get a different weird phone call every week, right? Somebody wants to pitch something, somebody wants to do something. And as I tell my team and I tell my wife all the time, I'm always open to a conversation. Always. Like you always sit down, you always talk about, hey, I've got this weird idea or I've got this weird thought. And so not only with outside folks that are coming to visit with you, but also your team. I mean, if your team wants to come talk to you and they've got an idea that can better serve your clients and better serve your organization, always listen and never turn down or cut short. Listening to folks and having to hear what they say and exploring it before you just dismiss something. And I think that's been one of the best things that I've stuck to that has really helped us grow and find opportunities and adjust as things move and shake in business. And I think if most businesses would do that, I think they would stay on top of changes that always come up.
Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of times we start out as business owners we're in that Venn diagram. We're hungry, we're trying to be humble because we don't know what the heck we're doing. And then we're trying to be as smart as we can. We're trying to learn. But I think a lot of times we get very inflexible because we're like, well, this is how I built my business. This is what got me here. I don't want to lose. It feels like letting our child grow up almost if we let that piece of how we did business go. And so I love what you're saying, that you do have to be flexible. You have to, what gets you to call it a $5 million business might not get you to a $10 million business or whatever that end result is that you're looking for. And so if you want to get to that next level, sometimes you do have to learn how to do things differently or pivot or hire in a role that you love doing or whatever that looks like.
And it's even like, having people call you and say, hey, I really like what you got going on. I want to be a part of your organization. Don't just dismiss that. Always have that conversation, right? What does that look like? Is it, okay, I want to come in and infuse some money in your organization. Well, what does that mean for my team and the faster growth that I could have? Or, somebody outside is saying, hey, I want to collaborate with you. Right. And I'm thankful for organizations that are willing to do that with me, because I approach people all the time like, hey, here's how I can help you. Here's how we can work together. And if they have an open mind, we get things done. But if you're just, this is the way we've always done it, you don't grow, you don't progress at all.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Dustin, this has been really awesome. Thank you so much for your time. People can find you online. It's mwwaterworks.com, right? That's the best place to kind of check in, learn about you guys, and see what you're up to.
Yep, we're always hiring too. So if you're wanting to get into career in the water and wastewater industry, or learn more about what we do in the Idaho area, or want to move to Idaho, we've moved a lot of folks from other states here that don't like living in the particular communities or in the particular cities they have, and they moved to Idaho, and it's a wonderful place, and we've got lots of room to grow here. So I mean, check it out. If that's something that intrigues you, let us know.
Do you have any goals or desires to expand outside of Idaho? It's called Mountain West. There's no geographical restriction necessarily to just Idaho. Are you hoping to expand into other states?
Yeah, we've actually been dipping our toe in that. We've actually been visiting with a few systems in Wyoming, and we've got a couple on the docket to start doing in northern Utah. So we are kind of starting to stretch out there a little bit to that.
That's exciting. That's really awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're watching, somebody that's looking for a job, driven, hungry, and smart, or what?
Humble, hungry, smart.
Humble, hungry, smart. There we go. Humble, hungry, and smart. Dustin's always hiring, and we need clean water. So
and I'm also open to not just employees, but other people in the same industry. I'd like to collaborate and learn from other folks doing what we do in other states, or I'm always open to say, hey, look at things differently. I've done this differently than you're doing it. How can we work together? I'm open to collaboration from anybody too. So it's not just about hiring, but also people in the same space, or even in the same space of doing anything water and wastewater. We love to talk about it.
I love it. Well, that's why we had you on today. I could tell just from our phone call that this would be a great conversation. I truly appreciate your time, your expertise. Chatting business with you has been awesome. So thanks a ton, Dustin.
Yeah, no, thank you. This has been really great. A lot of fun. And, if you get good response, and maybe we can do it again soon. So
that'd be great. I'd love that. Guys, if you're watching, thank you so much. We appreciate you watching. Hopefully, if you made it through to the end here, you feel like you're winging it in your business just a little bit less. I'm Tommy Gilmore with Noisy Bird Marketing. This has been Dustin. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week. We'll be here with another business owner to help you in your business. And until then, we'll talk to you later.